In this HVACR training video, we're going over one of the most misunderstood components in a gas furnace, and that's the pressure switch. So we're going to take you out for up-close views and show you how it actually works, and then after that we're going to take the measurements we would use in the field to diagnose a pressure switch problem. This is a new high-efficiency gas furnace that hasn't been installed yet, and you see we have two pressure switches down here. The job of this pressure switch is to monitor the pressure on this inducer motor. And so if the inducer motor is not running, then the switch won't close, but the inducer motor's job is to pull combustion air into this combustion chamber and then to pull the exhaust through the heat exchanger in the back and out through this exhaust pipe. It's going to push that exhaust out. The other thing is this pressure switch is going to monitor the condensate line and condensate trap in case there's a clog. If the water level rises due to a clog, it's going to open up the electrical circuit, and so these are acting as safety devices. Pressure switches work on a differential of pressure. So this is made up of two air chambers. So it's an air chamber here with a switch, and here you have a diaphragm separating the two chambers. Then you have a spring, and you have a little set screw down here that applies more force onto the spring. So you have basically on each of these pressure switches a rating right here. It says 0.18 inch water column, 0.8, and this one says 1.5 inch water column. So it takes 27.6 inches of water column to equal 1 psi of pressure. So we're talking about extremely low pressures here. So what you need to realize is this pressure right here is actually the amount of force that this spring is pressing up on the diaphragm with. So that spring right there. And so that's why with these fixed pressure switches you have glue on the back, and so the set screw is kind of fixed in place. And so right here you have the diaphragm separating this chamber from this chamber. And you see this hole right here? This is always atmospheric pressure, so you have that little hole. And I'll get to the two-port pressure switches in just a little bit. I just want to make sure that you understand what's actually happening. And so you have atmospheric pressure on this side, and this side has atmospheric pressure plus the spring pressure. So it's always greater than the atmospheric pressure over here when the inducer motor is not turned on. So anytime that the inducer motor, which is connected to this little port right here, anytime that's turned on, you're reducing the pressure in this chamber. And so this pressure plus the spring pressure is less than the atmospheric pressure on this side, and then this diaphragm lets go on this switch right here, and then the switch closes. So right now, this switch actually is closed right now. But the pressure switch usually has this little nub right here. It's pressing up on this, like this. And it's making this pressure switch be in the normally open position. So it's only going to close anytime that you have a pressure reduction greater than, in this case, it's 0.18 inch water column. And then the pressure switch is going to electrically close. So not only do you have plastic pressure switches, there are also metal ones out there as well, and they function basically the same way. And in this case, you have a single port pressure switch, and you have normally open sets of contacts just like the other one. You could have something like this. You could have a two-port pressure switch like this with a set of normally open contacts that will close when there's a pressure reduction of a differential basically across the switch, which I'll explain this in a sec. And then you also have the possibility of having a three-terminal pressure switch. And the three-terminal pressure switches typically have two ports on them. And so you have one set of normally open contacts and the other set of normally closed contacts. And so you're looking at a pressure differential across the pressure switch, and typically you have a positive and a negative. On this two-port pressure switch, you see a positive and a negative. The negative one typically goes to the inducer motor, and then the positive typically goes to a combustion chamber. And so this is used typically on a sealed combustion furnace, and they're usually a 90% efficient furnace or higher. And so this side is not going to get reduced as much as this side is during operation. So you still have a differential, but what I'm trying to tell you here is that there is no atmospheric pressure while the system's running. So this side is going to have a lower pressure than atmospheric pressure, but this side is going to be reduced greater than this side is. So it's going to have a differential and that differential is going to overcome that spring pressure. So we're normally pressing like this on the diaphragm, and what's going to happen is the pressure in this chamber is going to reduce, and it's going to allow the diaphragm to come this way, and it's going to have the normally open sets of contacts are going to close during operation as long as the inducer motor is running and there is that pressure differential. You want to remember that a pressure switch is not mounted in a gas furnace like this, because then this spring would have to deal with the weight of the diaphragm sitting down on it. It's always mounted just like this. And so what you also want to remember is the negative part of the pressure switch always has a lower overall pressure than the positive port, but they're both lower than atmospheric pressure while the system is running, and the positive does not have a pressure greater than atmospheric pressure. They're both lower than atmospheric pressure, so you're just looking for your differential. So on this pressure switch, you see we have 3 tabs. You have a common, and this is a common connection point, so you have the normally closed set of contacts like this, and then you have the normally open set of contacts like this. When the inducer motor is running and there's a pressure differential across the switch, the normally open contacts right here are going to close, and the normally closed set of contacts are going to open up. So we're at our gas furnace. Here's our single port pressure switch, and we just have this little T in place. We're teeing in between the inducer motor housing and the pressure switch to measure our inches of water column. So we're measuring the pressure reduction on this side of the pressure switch. Here I have 2 probes, and we're measuring the electrical resistance across the switch. OL means open line over limit. Basically, it just means that there's an air gap between the switch and the switch is open presently. So now we're going to turn this furnace on in heating mode, and so you know I've disconnected these 2 switches that go to the pressure switch. You could also just measure voltage across the switch in order to see if this closes while the furnace is running. This pressure switch is the same as this one right here, and it's 0.45 inches of water column as far as the spring pressure inside. So our water column manometer is on P1, which is right here, and you see it's zeroed out. And so now we'll turn the power onto the furnace, and the thermostat is set on heating mode. So the first thing that should turn on is the inducer motor. And the job of the pressure switch is to make sure that the inducer motor is running and there's no clogs in the tubing. And so you see we're measuring a water column pressure, which is the pressure reduction on this side of the switch, and we're only measuring 0.39 or 0.42, so that's not enough. So it should be a lot higher of a pressure reduction, so maybe about 1 inch water column. So we know that there's an issue, but we do see our inducer motor running, so we're going to turn the power off. We're going to wait for that to stop, and then we're going to take a look at this port right here. A lot of times when you have a metal inducer motor housing, that port will clog solid right there. So that could be the issue. The other thing I just want to mention real quick is that we normally don't have our multimeter here because this inducer motor housing is going to get real hot. I just have it in there just for the photo. So there's a lot of white sediment in there, so let's turn the system back on, and let's just shoot that out. Okay, I turned the power back off. Now you see it's clear, and we can go ahead and plug this tube back in. Now we're going to turn the power back on to the furnace. So you see we're measuring 0.2. Now that's the continuity function. So that is just the electrical resistance function instead of continuity. So it won't be making that beeping noise. But we're measuring 0.2 ohms of electrical resistance across that switch, and that may just be due to the probes themselves of the alligator clips, but that switch is now closed. We're measuring 0.87 inch water column. So we've reduced the pressure on this side, we've lowered it down that far, so say 0.9 or so. So everything is functioning properly, the inducer motor is running correctly, we unclogged the port, and everything's good. Now we're going to move on to measure the pressure differential across a 2-port pressure switch. This furnace right here has two pressure switches. This one's a 2-port pressure switch, and here we have a single-port pressure switch. And this tube right here is connected over to the inducer motor housing, and this is monitoring if this condensate trap right here gets clogged with water. So if the water level rises above this port right here, this pressure switch is going to open up the electrical circuit. And so now we're going to move up and explain the 2-port pressure switch. Here we have our 2-port pressure switch, and so one hose is connected right over to the inducer motor, and the second port right here is connected to this sealed combustion box. So anytime you have a sealed combustion box, you also have a T with a tube going over to the gas valve so that the gas valve has the pressure that's within this box. If there was no combustion box and this was just open, then you wouldn't need a tube right here, and it would just be reading the atmospheric pressure. But right here, this pressure switch, it has a negative, and the negative is connected to the inducer motor, and the positive is connected to this box. So this box, while the system's running, while the inducer motor is running, this box is going to be lower than atmospheric pressure, but the pressure over at the inducer motor is going to be reduced lower than what's in this box right here because of the distance, because you have a heat exchanger between here and here. In fact, you have two heat exchangers because this is a 90% efficient furnace. And so now we're going to hook up our water column manometer, and we're going to measure the differential between the negative and the positive port of this switch. So we have our inducer motor running right now, and we have a call for heat, but we have our electrical wires off of the pressure switch, so that's why it's continuing to run. But we have our negative port right here connected to our pressure switch and teed in, and that's on P1. And then we have our positive port connected to the combustion chamber, and that's teed in on P2. So P1, we're measuring 2.49 inches of water column. So that's the pressure reduction on that side of the pressure switch. And then if we were to switch to P2, we're measuring 0.09 inches of water column, and that's because this combustion chamber door over here is open. And so if we just come right back over here, we see our differential of 2.4 inches of water column across this pressure switch. And so anything greater than 1.38 inch of water column, like on the rating plate right here, is going to cause the normally open sets of contacts to close. We're measuring with our multimeter across this switch. It's actually closed right now, but it seems that our contacts on our pressure switch are pitted. And so we're measuring electrical resistance across that switch. And so if the resistance is high, it's going to not allow the proper amount of electrical power across the switch in order to prove that the inducer motor is running and that there's no problems. So in this case, we would still replace this pressure switch because we have a high electrical resistance. We should be measuring very close to 0.0 ohms of resistance when the switch is closed. So remember that anytime that you're measuring pressure on a pressure switch, you're not really measuring negative pressure. You're measuring a pressure reduction or a pressure differential across the switch. So if you want to learn more about furnace troubleshooting, I've got a bunch of videos linked down in the description section below. And if you want to learn more about HVAC, make sure to check out our website over at acservicetech.com. There's a bunch of free resources there, such as articles, quick tips, calculators, quizzes, the podcast. And we also have our refrigerant charging book, our workbook, quick reference cards. We've got posters and PowerPoints for teachers. So make sure you check that out over at acservicetech.com. Hope you enjoyed yourself, and we'll see you next time at AC Service Tech channel.